7.5 million. That is how many blog posts were published today? And tomorrow, there will be 7.5 million more.
It's wild.
It is.
Yeah.
We are living in the most crowded digital landscape in human history, yet marketers are trying to find out if anyone is actually reading their work by staring at this chaotic, anxiety-inducing mess of like 15 different browser tabs.
So, welcome to our deep dive. We are officially kicking off Data Design with Mockup, and this is episode number 33.
Yes.
Today, we are tackling a massive headache for anyone working in content. We're talking about rescuing your analytics strategy from data silos by wireframing a master dashboard and doing this before you ever touch a single line of live data.
Yeah, the current state of content tracking it's staggering, really, when you look at the sheer friction involved.
Absolutely.
Because teams are generating these brilliant pieces of content, but the mechanism for measuring its impact is just fundamentally broken. I mean, you have your Google Analytics open for traffic, your Search Console for organic queries.
A CRM for lead tracking, some separate platform for social engagement, and then another one for email. It's cognitive overload.
It is, but I want to challenge the premise that this is inherently broken, though. Because having specialized, distinct tools is usually by design, right?
Sure.
Like a CRM is purpose-built to track the nuances of a customer journey, while Search Console is highly technical. It's built for search algorithms.
Right.
So why do we need another layer, like a master dashboard, just to look at what the other tools are doing? Aren't we just adding a middleman to the tech stack?
So the distinction we really need to make here is between data collection and data synthesis.
Okay.
Specialized tools are unparalleled for that deep dive granular collection. You need them for that.
Right, the raw numbers.
Exactly. The problem arises when you try to make strategic decisions based on isolated fragments of that data. So when your CRM doesn't communicate with your SEO tool, your data is siloed. You might see a huge spike in organic traffic in one tab, but unless you can simultaneously see if those specific visitors actually converted into qualified leads in your CRM tab, I mean, the traffic metric is essentially useless for business strategy.
That makes sense from a strategy standpoint, but let me throw a wrench in that.
Go for it.
A CRM contains highly sensitive customer information, personally identifiable information, or PII. But Google Analytics just contains anonymized aggregate traffic.
Right.
So merging these entirely different environments into one massive dashboard, I mean, that sounds like a data privacy and governance nightmare. How do we build a unified view without completely violating compliance protocols?
That is the exact trap most teams fall into, and it's actually why we're focusing on dashboard wireframing today.
Okay.
Because if you try to build a unified dashboard by just aggressively piping raw data from every API into a single live environment, you hit those governance walls immediately. A wireframed master dashboard acts as a visualization layer. You're designing a structured layout of key performance indicators, the KPIs, first.
So you aren't merging the raw databases.
Yes, exactly. You are just consolidating the top-level insights into a shared visual space.
Okay, so it's about translation and alignment. You're pulling the aggregate results, not the granular customer data, to create a shared narrative.
Right.
Which is critical because, like, if I'm a content writer, I'm probably just optimizing for page views.
Right.
But if I'm the sales director, I'm really looking at the CRM for pipeline revenue. Yeah. So if we aren't looking at the same synthesized dashboard, we aren't even having the same conversation about what success looks like.
And the consequence of that misalignment is wasted budget and, honestly, a lot of team friction. A properly designed dashboard ensures that the writer, the marketer, and the executive are all reacting to the same reality simultaneously.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because no one should be spending 4 hours manually exporting CSV files to build a weekly report that is, already out of date by the time it hits an inbox.
Oh, I've been there. Which brings up the next hurdle. If we are pulling everyone into the same visual space, we have to be incredibly intentional about the narrative we are constructing.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if you just dump every available metric from those 15 tabs onto one screen, you haven't solved the cognitive overload, you've just moved it.
Right.
You go from scattered chaos to consolidated chaos.
Yes. And the sources outline a very specific framework to avoid that exact visual clutter. A robust content dashboard should be built around 5 essential pillars.
Okay.
And these categories, they filter out the vanity metrics and focus entirely on measuring real business impact.
Let's weave through these pillars, because they actually tell a pretty chronological story of a user's journey.
They do.
I like to think about this like running a restaurant. So the first pillar is traffic, which is essentially how many people walk through the door off the street. We're looking at unique visitors, new versus returning, and traffic sources to understand where our attention is originating.
Right, exactly. But once you solve the traffic problem, you immediately hit a wall if those visitors don't care about what you're serving.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the second pillar, which is engagement. Traffic tells you they showed up, but engagement tells you if they actually found value.
So keeping with the restaurant analogy, engagement is how long they sit at the table, reading the menu, and enjoying the ambiance, rather than turning around and walking right back out.
Exactly.
We're talking about average time on page, bounce rate, and crucially, scroll depth.
Scroll depth is such a fantastic diagnostic metric that teams often just ignore.
Wait, really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you have high traffic, but your average scroll depth is only 15%, that points to a structural issue, not a content quality issue.
Oh, I see.
It means you might have a massive wall of text or a poor visual hierarchy or maybe an intrusive pop-up that is just destroying the user experience.
So the format is driving them away before they even get to the meat of the article.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got them in the door, and we've got them reading. The third pillar our sources highlight is SEO and visibility, which feels like the long-term engine for the first two pillars.
Yes.
We're tracking organic traffic trends, keyword rankings, click-through rates from search engine results pages, and backlink profiles.
Because those visibility metrics, they gauge your future potential. They show how well your content architecture aligns with search engine algorithms over time.
Right.
But, all the visibility and engagement in the world doesn't matter if the site itself is broken, which introduces the fourth pillar, content health.
Back to the restaurant. This is making sure the kitchen equipment actually works and the health inspector is happy.
Perfect, yeah.
So content health covers the technical accessibility. Is Google successfully crawling and indexing your pages? Are your canonical tags correct? And what is the page load speed?
Because the technical mechanics of content health directly impact your SEO and engagement pillars.
Okay.
Well, if your site has bloat and takes 6 seconds to load, Google's algorithm will penalize your ranking, and human users will bounce before the page even renders.
Oh, dead on arrival.
Exactly. Your content could be a masterpiece, but if the crawler hits a snag or the server response time lags, your strategy is done. Content health also tracks content freshness. The algorithm prioritizes recently updated information, so a dashboard that alerts you to decaying posts is invaluable.
It's the underlying infrastructure.
Right.
Which leaves us with the fifth and final pillar, conversion, the actual business goal.
Yeah.
Did the customer order a meal and pay for it?
Right.
We're tracking call to action clicks, lead form submissions, newsletter signups, and multi-touch attribution, like content-assisted conversions.
When you view these 5 pillars, so that's traffic, engagement, SEO, content health, and conversion.
Right.
When you view them as an interconnected ecosystem, the power of real-time tracking becomes really obvious.
Yeah.
If a high-performing article suddenly drops in keyword ranking, you aren't waiting for an end-of-month post-mortem to discover the loss. The dashboard flags the anomaly instantly.
So you perform triage in real time. You go in, update the decaying content, check the indexing status, and recover the ranking before it completely tanks the quarterly goals. It creates an agile strategy.
That is the ideal state, yes.
Okay, but here is the reality check. The 5 pillars make perfect conceptual sense. But for the teams listening, the idea of actually building this ecosystem sounds like a technical nightmare.
It does.
I mean, if I go to my data engineering team today and say, hey, I need a live dashboard pulling APIs from GA4, SEMrush, Salesforce, and MailChimp, organized perfectly by these 5 pillars,
They lose it.
I am going to get laughed out of the room. We're talking about months of development, writing custom queries, and mapping data models.
And that traditional approach is exactly why so many dashboard projects fail.
Really?
Yeah, because marketing teams try to build the database integrations and the visual interface at the exact same time. It is a recipe for disaster. This is where the core concept of our sources comes in, which is dashboard wireframing using a platform like mockup.ai.
Wireframing. Essentially, you want us to design the entire dashboard before we even have the data flowing into it. I'll admit, my initial reaction to this is that it feels completely backwards.
A lot of people think that.
Right. Because how do you design a data visualization if you don't know what the shape, volume, or limits of the raw data actually look like? Doesn't the data dictate the design?
Letting the raw data dictate the design is the biggest mistake you can make.
Wait, why?
Because if you connect the data feed first, you inevitably end up with a clumsy layout simply because of how the API exports the information. If the API outputs a massive table, well, you put a massive table on the screen.
Ah, so you become a victim of the default settings.
Precisely. To use a software development analogy, building a live dashboard without a wireframe is like coding the back-end database of a mobile app before you've even sketched out the user
Oh,
interface.
wow. Yeah, that would be a mess.
You have to map the user journey first. So mockup acts kind of like Figma, but specifically designed for business intelligence dashboards. It forces the marketing team to prioritize their layout based on their strategic intentions, rather than letting the data structure limit their imagination.
So you're designing based on intention. Like if our quarterly goal is brand visibility, we drag the SEO and traffic widgets to the top left of the screen because that's where the eye goes first.
Exactly.
But if we're doing a heavy B2B lead generation push, we make the conversion and lead form submission charts the dominant visual elements.
You decide the narrative you want the data to tell, you design the perfect visual container for that narrative, and only then do you ask the data team to fill those specific containers.
That is a massive paradigm shift. It completely flips the workflow. But let's talk about the practical execution of this tool, mockup.ai, because even drawing the blueprints sounds intimidating if you're a content marketer, not a UI or UX designer. How does a team that specializes in writing actually build a complex data schematic at speed?
Well, the platform removes the barrier to entry by utilizing pre-built components and artificial intelligence.
Oh, okay.
You aren't staring at a blank canvas trying to invent a user interface from scratch. Mockup provides a library of over 250 templates and 50-plus drag-and-drop chart components that are already optimized for marketing use cases.
So you just grab a bounce rate gauge or a traffic sources pie chart and snap it onto the grid.
Yeah, the visual hierarchy is largely solved for you, but the most significant workflow accelerator is the AI generation feature.
I actually have the exact prompt from the source text here, and I want to break it down because I think it illustrates how sophisticated this process has really become.
Let's hear it.
You can just type this plain text command into the AI. It says, create a marketing dashboard showing monthly organic traffic, top blog posts, bounce rate, average scroll depth, and form submissions.
And the speed at which that goes from text to a visual mockup is just transformative.
But let's look at the mechanics of what the AI is actually doing there. It isn't just throwing 5 random boxes on a screen, is it?
No, not at all. The AI is trained on thousands of existing highly optimized BI dashboards. So when it reads the natural language phrase, monthly organic traffic, it inherently understands that time series data is best visualized as a line chart or a bar graph. When it reads bounce rate, it knows to assign a percentage gauge widget. It maps the semantic request to the correct data visualization psychology.
That mapping process is crucial. It gives you a highly educated first draft instantly. And from there, the wireframe becomes this collaborative environment. Because it's detached from live data, there's zero risk of breaking a database while you experiment.
Exactly. Which completely eliminates the endless, soul-crushing email chains with the design team.
Oh, I know the ones. Like, can we move the scroll depth chart to the top? Can we make the organic traffic line graph blue instead of green?
Yes. Instead of that, you just invite the SEO specialist, the content manager, and the VP of marketing into the mock-up link. And everyone can just leave comments or drag elements around in real time.
So you gain total consensus on the blueprint.
Yeah.
Everyone agrees on what the 5 pillars look like before a single engineering ticket is filed.
Right.
Okay, but this brings us to the critical handoff.
Sure.
The marketing team has used mockup. They've dragged and dropped their widgets. The AI helped them format it. And they have this beautiful approved wireframe. But it's populated with dummy data.
Yeah.
It's essentially a high-fidelity picture.
Yeah.
Doesn't the data architecture team still have to look at this pretty picture and rebuild the entire thing from absolute scratch in a heavy-duty BI tool like Tableau or Microsoft Power BI? Haven't we just duplicated the work?
If they had to rebuild it from scratch, this entire process would be a total waste of time. The genius of this specific wireframing workflow lies in the export mechanism. Mockup doesn't just export a static PDF for the developers to visually mimic. It exports directly into the native formats of BI tools like Power BI and Tableau.
Wait, really? How does that actually function on a technical level?
So when you build a wireframe in Mockup, underneath that visual layer is a structured schema. usually JSON or XML, depending on the integration.
Oh,
Every chart you drag and drop has specific X and Y coordinates on the grid, specific height and width dimensions, and predefined container IDs. When you export to Power BI, Mockup translates that underlying structural code into Power BI's layout engine.
that is incredible. So when the data engineer opens the file in Power BI, the layout is already built. The containers are sitting exactly where the marketing team placed them. The data engineer doesn't have to push pixels or guess about visual hierarchy.
Not at all. Their job shifts entirely from UI design to data plumbing. They look at the container labeled organic traffic line graph, and all they have to do is write the query that routes the live Search Console API feed directly into that specific pre-formatted container.
It creates a shared structural language between two departments that historically really struggle to communicate. Marketers get exactly the narrative visualization they wanted, and data engineers get clear, unambiguous boundaries for where the data needs to go without having to play graphic designer.
Exactly. It accelerates the deployment pipeline exponentially while drastically reducing the friction between those teams.
Well, let's pull these threads together then. The core reality of our landscape is saturation. With 7.5 million posts a day, you cannot rely on publishing and praying. You need a centralized, real-time feedback loop.
And that loop requires tracking the interconnected ecosystem of those 5 pillars: traffic, engagement, SEO, content health, and conversion.
But to build that master dashboard without triggering an IT disaster or a data privacy crisis, the workflow must be inverted. You wireframe the dashboard first using a tool like Mockup. You use AI and pre-built templates to design the narrative, align the team on the KPIs, and establish the visual layout.
Right.
And then you export that structural schematic directly to your BI tools for the developers to connect the live data streams.
Because the ultimate value of this process isn't just having a nice-looking chart, it's about speed and agility. A properly constructed master dashboard built on intention rather than raw data dumps, well, it becomes a reliable engine for continuous growth.
Yeah,
It removes the guesswork, it tells you exactly what is working, what requires immediate technical triage, and where new strategic opportunities are hiding.
it is the ultimate antidote to the anxiety of having 15 browser tabs open.
It really brings clarity to the chaos.
Well, before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave everyone with a final thought to chew on regarding where all this technology is heading. We spent this entire time talking about using AI to instantly wireframe these perfect psychological dashboards.
Right.
And we use those dashboards to analyze human behavior so we can figure out exactly what kind of content humans want to read.
The feedback loop we just discussed.
Right. But if the AI already understands the exact metrics we need, and it knows how to build the perfect dashboard to track those pillars,
Mm.
how long until the dashboard bypasses the human analysis phase entirely?
Oh.
Right? How long until the dashboard looks at the real-time drop in scroll depth, analyzes the keyword gaps in the SEO pillar, and just tells the generative AI exactly what kind of blog post to write to plug the gap? Are we designing these dashboards to help us write better content, or are we just building the infrastructure for the dashboard to eventually design the content for us?
That is a really profound question about the future of creative strategy and automation. I mean, the tools we use to observe the ecosystem might very soon become the primary drivers of it.
Definitely something to mull over while you're analyzing your bounce rates this afternoon. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this framework helps you cut through the noise, align your teams, and get a much clearer picture of your own data architecture. Keep designing with intention, keep analyzing those pillars, and we will catch you on the next one.